Many Diwalis have come and gone without a trade deal, and too many businesses have been left waiting. So my message to Minister Sitharaman and Minister Goyal is that Labour is ready to go. Let's finally get our free trade deal done, finished, over, and we move on. And India is not just a priority for our leader. India is a priority for me. I promise you, I will be in India if we get over the line before the end of next month. Because travelling to India with my colleague Johnny Reynolds, our Shadow Secretary of State for Business and Trade, our mission was explicit. And it's also the case that our deputy leader, Angela Rayner, when she travelled to India, meeting with multiple business groups to explain that the government led by Sir Keir Starmer will prioritise growth. And that we come not just to lecture, but to listen. And that is very important. And one lesson that I learned was about the railways. India's railways are now 94% electrified. Here in Britain, the rate currently stands as 38% electrified. We've got something to learn. With the current government planning to reach net zero on the railways by 2050, a full 2 decades after India. Friends, Britain needs a reset with the global south, and that begins in India. And with Labour, I've got to tell you, the days of Boris Johnson reciting that old verse from Rudyard Kipling in Asia are over. If I recite a poem, it will be by Tagore, friends. We want to learn and we want to collaborate. From tech and digital innovation, from digital public infrastructure to our physical public infrastructure, from the green transition to global vaccines, to understanding the outstanding economic transformation led by successive now Indian governments, and how we can apply those lessons here in the UK to achieve Keir Starmer's missions. Because with a superpower like India, the areas of cooperation and the areas of learning are limitless. India and climate is a good example. Friends, the meaning of friendship, it seems to me, is solidarity. And we are in solidarity with India. And we have the extreme heat wave. When you have the extreme heat waves and the suffering in your cities, with daily temperatures regularly reaching over 40 degrees centigrade, peaking at nearly 50 degrees centigrade since May, this shows that climate breakdown is here. And this is why the Labour Party, with our internationalism and our commitment to net zero, will make climate action a priority. We're committed to a new climate change envoy and a step up on the international scene, reversing the damage that Rishi Sunak did to our credibility when he ripped up our climate targets and came up with all sorts of nonsense about 7 recycling bins. With us, Britain will be back. and Keir Starmer is determined to never skip a climate summit as crucial as COP. Keir will forge on with a new energy transition that we desperately need, with a commitment to clean power by 2030 at home and leading a clean power alliance abroad. There can be no energy transition without an Indian energy transition. India is the dispensable partner, not only to Britain, but the whole developed world. And together, we must work together in this essential mission. And to make sure that this year's shocking heat wave does not become a new normality for our children and grandchildren, along with so many other climate disasters menacing us in the southern and the northern hemisphere alike. And then we come on to security. This is our message to our friends forming India's new government and across the political divide. We are with you when you stand up to stop climate change, but our solidarity goes beyond climate and extends to security. Friends, let me tell you about how I see things and how I approach foreign policy. I take the world as it is, and in these difficult times, as the great promise, as the great peril which we now see in our world. This is who we are. We stand for a rules-based order and against those who wish to redraw borders by force with a new form of imperialism like Mr. Putin in Europe. And those in Asia who wish to impose their will on their neighbours, denying them free choices. This is obvious to us in this room, but sadly not always to those in foreign policy. Europe and Asia are not two separate worlds. We see this in North Korean shells being fired at Ukrainian defenders in the Donbass, and we see this in the political and material support Beijing has given to the Kremlin. China should not throw its lot in with Putin's coalition of Moscow, Tehran, or Pyongyang. Friends, as our rivals deepen their cooperation, we must deepen our cooperation, because we are committed to a free and open Indo-Pacific, just like India is. And in this challenging environment, Britain will remain and seek to ramp up the security partnership with India, from military to maritime security, from cyber to critical and emerging technologies, from defense and industrial cooperation to supply chain security. We are India's friends, and we are with her and right behind her. This is our message, which the UK Carrier Strike Group will carry to the Indian Ocean in 2025, to train and operate with Indian forces in a world that is more and more contested. This is a friendship. It's not only made in speeches, but in real actions in the real world. There are a few who fail to appreciate that Britain's relationship with India is the great story of our past, leaving us inextricably linked. And the best place to see it is not in Whitehall, but on the Rajpath, but in our family trees. Almost 3% of the population here is of Indian origin. And this, friends, is personal to me. I get our history, our shared history, because these are the tides that made me. My great-great-grandmother was an Indian from Calcutta who set sail as an indentured labourer to the Caribbean, where my parents were born. And I see this in Guyana, and I look at the diversity of that great country, and I see this, of course, in India, which in some ways is one of the motherlands of that country. Trade and technology. From Gurgaon to Pune and Bangalore will transform Birmingham, Cardiff, Brighton. Today, India is the superpower, and with our shared democracy, our shared innovation, our shared ambition for a green, prosperous world, we can show together and share together in these words that are so true. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. Thank you very much for having me.